So for those of you who haven't met Ernest yet, you're in for an amazing treat. So Ernest is one of the world's top relationship coaches, I guess, for a phrase. I never know what to call Ernest because he's many amazing things. Ernest also my person, is like my wingman in life, helping me guide and my ecosystem of how to live and a great life, being fully connected. And part of this is this deep relationship with ourselves, our relationship with life, with love, with things greater than ourselves. And then how in that does that translate into our relationship with other humans? And then very importantly, our relationship with a significant other. Ernest has had a pivotal role in me and well, just an amazing. So I'll stop going on because otherwise I'm going to spend the entire hour just talking about how amazing you are, Ernest. So I think it's time for me to hand over. So we've got today a session where we've had some previous conversations with Ernest on our own relationship with ourselves and money and what's enough and where is that trigger. So I've asked Ernest tonight and today to talk more on how do we bring this complex thing called money into relationships with firstly, the most intimate and our primary relationship, an intimate central sexual relationship or primary partnership, where we know money is such a charged topic. Money and sex, two of the most taboo elements. And for each of us, how do we first navigate the meaning we give it, and then how do we bring that in with another person? And so Ernest, firstly, just a huge big welcome and thank you for being here. And Ernest is joining us all the way from the west coast of Canada, so it's very much morning for you.
Yeah, I'm on literally the other side of the world, but it's lovely to be here as always. I love the opportunity to hang out with this community. So every time I'm invited, it's such a joy. So I'm delighted to be here. Thanks everybody for being here with me, and I'm excited about this particular topic because this is what I wake up every day so passionate to continue to explore. So lest Anne's glowing introduction give you any illusions that this is anything that a human being can master, let's dash that right now. Right, we are all on a journey of kind of trying to fathom and reckon the mystery of relationships. And I happen to have been on that journey quite intentionally for quite a long time in my life because it was such a painful part for me. So whatever wisdom and awareness and knowledge I can share is not because of any particular virtue. It's because I've, like everybody, rising out of the ashes of my own suffering in order to find things that have worked for me. And I've learned over the years that some of the things that work for me actually also work for other people. And it turns out that there is a way to figure out some of the mystery of relationships so we don't have to keep on bashing our heads into the same concrete wall. So here we all are, fellow journeyers toward the mystery
of life and love and what it is to live that fully wealthy life. So Ernest, what we're going to do is I've asked Ernest to cover a couple of topics which have been really pivotal for me in navigating this complex thing of relationship and money and life. And, many of you are sharing my journey with Nick and where we are, and we're in this, this newish relationship as we now bring two adults with our own baggage and packages and different things into play, and different conversations start out. And navigating, how do we then bring this whole aspect of money into relationship? How do we manage it? What are our hopes and dreams from it? How do we have conversations around our hopes, our dreams, our fears, but also our differences? And then what's also been key for me is looking at my own relationship with life, but also with myself and fear and trust. And can I trust myself? Money I find an amazing magnifier because it does represent so many things in our life. It can represent security, a sense of ego, a sense of trust, sense of power, authority. Where do we sit in the interdynamics of relationship? and a lot of taboo as well, of old patterns of where do you want, don't want to be seen greedy, or all of these labels around how do we be abundant and fair but still look after ourselves. Where do we not drop into the rescuer or the appeaser or the grabber or whatever that is? And so then please also ask questions. We're going to then open up to questions. You can ask Ernest a question directly. We'll just raise a hand, or you can type it in the chat. Because one of the most powerful things that I know about Ernest and in this process also, when it comes to specific things for ourselves, what does that look like? So Ernest, coming into having conversations, we had a masterclass last week about one of the most important things we've got to get clear first ourselves. What is our relationship with money? What do we want from it? And this constant coming back, where are we getting our sense of identity, and what do we want from this thing to get into right relationship with money? So let's say we spend a bit of time on that and we go, okay, and everybody here is on that journey. If viewers, they're choosing to say, hey, I want to get into right relation with money. I want to sort out my money shizzle. Want to know how much is enough, get out of debt, start getting more conscious around my money. So now with that comes, this is what freedom looks like for me. That's what enough is. This is my value structure. This is important for me to feel safe. Now bringing, how do we express those and how to bring that into relationship and the complexity of that. So now there's a couple of models we talk about. You and I have worked on, the wheel of consent, and then also models around getting really clear on how do you communicate and express what you want, and then where do you find the gap and the willing and navigate that. So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit more about where do we start when there's like, okay, I've now got a little bit clearer, and bringing those conversations in that maybe in a new relationship or in relationships where maybe there's been taboo or charged topics.
Yeah, this is great stuff, right? Because it really takes us right to ground zero, right? As you said earlier, sex and money are really the places where almost every relationship that we, close relationship that we have that's where we're going to bump into things. And it's because sex and money represent, right, places where we get very identified, right? We have a story about these things and by extension, I got a story about me. I get to, right? It's a very easy place to ask the question, but am I okay? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? Am I lovable? Do I belong? In other words, right? And that's so essential here. Because I'm going to say something fairly extreme, but I think it's true. Every relationship breakdown that I've ever seen, the subtitle is, do I belong? Right? Am I okay with you? That's the subtitle under every fight, every quibble, every, everything that goes on difficult, in a difficult way in a relationship, is that one or both people are asking that question. And now we're using so many other words, right? We might be arguing about money or sex or, the garbage or the dog or, whose parents we're going to go see for Christmas or something like that, or even just the state of the world and who you voted for in the last election. But it really comes down to, if I'm willing to kind of, get into a conflict with somebody who I love, the only thing that justifies that internally is this deep insecurity of whether or not I am actually worthy, whether I'm lovable, whether I'm okay, whether I belong. And I'm looking to you, and, whether you want to have sex the way I do, or how much money we're spending, or are we, aligned in this thing, or can we agree about this? Do we vote for the same people? Whatever it is, I'm looking to you as a reassurance that I'm okay, that I'm safe here. And that's so important to understand, because if we try to have a conversation about, let's say, money without understanding that it's really about belonging, we are going to, miss the forest for the trees. We are actually going to be trying to solve a problem on a level where the problem doesn't really exist. Because it's, I'm going to say it's not actually about the money or the sex, actually, or any of it. It's actually about whether or not we are finding a way to feel safe with one another, whether or not we're able to feel okay about ourselves and also able to communicate, hey, you're okay with me too.
Yeah, I love that, sort of really starting with getting absolutely clear on that, because going into now, the next steps of having those conversations, I guess that's that very first part of going, what do we need to be doing first to know that we belong to ourselves and that we're okay? So that very first start was that. Do we have our own back? Do we know what we want? What's that? And we're going to get to the next parts now, because I think so important about this, do I belong, is do I also belong as me, not as a contorted version of myself? Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. And so that consciousness, I call about this a consciousness, you can call it a mindset or whatever you think, but or an awakening even, but that consciousness of cultivating my own sense of beauty, right? My own sense of my own beauty. And we talked about that in previous master classes, and I'm sure that there are recordings available for those, for anybody who hasn't heard me rattle on about that. But that deep relationship with my own indestructible, inalterable sense of I'm worthy because I exist, period. Yeah. Right? Everything else, the money, the sex, the elections, whatever it is, right? That comes later. Those are all, that's just footnotes. I'm worthy because I exist.
Yeah.
Right. And that my existence is actually my golden ticket, right? My VIP entrance to this life, to this experience. And actually, there's no debate about it. I've been loved, you could say, if you want to get kind of frilly and Valentine's-y with it, right? I've been loved into being. But the question, one of the big questions is, do I know that for sure? Have I taken the time to apprentice myself? Because it does take time and apprenticeship to actually discover that, because that's not the message that we got, any of us, when we were growing up. We got the message, be this way or else, right? And whether we got that message from our parents at home or, the teachers at school or the social group, the peer group that we were a part of, there was significant pressure to be a certain way or else something bad would happen. Right? Which means you wouldn't get love or attention or affection. Sometimes you might even get punished, right? So we've all grown up with this sense of I better be a certain way or else. But that actually only exists in the world out there. And vis-a-vis reality and life, there's actually this unconditionality, which is, no, Ernest, you don't have to be any way. You just have to be you, because you exist. So that's where this conversation starts for me. It's first of all, knowing that it's probably not going to go very well with somebody else if I don't have some sense of that here. Because if I don't have some sense of that in here, what I'm doing is I'm giving to you, whoever the you is that I'm having these conversations with, all the power to name whether or not I'm okay and worthy of existence, which is not a power that the other person ever has. Right? That would be like saying, making some kind of arbitrary, if the milkman arrives with the milk on time, I'm okay and I'm loved. But if the milkman is late or forgets me, then I must be a terrible, wretched person. Well, no, that has nothing to do with me. It just has to do with, whether or not the milkman ran out of gas on the way to my, my house. So we get to understand that some of the ways that these conversations that we struggle is when we're handing each other too much power, when we're handing money too much power. For anybody who's, wondering if they should make more money or they should be in less debt, I guarantee you it has nothing to do with your existential worthiness. But if you think that you'll be a worthy person if you get out of debt, you're giving debt too much power. If you think you'll be a worthy person if you, add an extra zero to whatever your yearly income is, then your yearly income has too much power. And if you think that you need your partner or whoever you're having these difficult conversations with to see things the way that you do, you're giving that person too much power, because none of that external stuff has power to name my own beauty. So we're going to talk about some of the communications, but that's the starting point.
And I love what you're saying, because also it's this implied giving that other thing, that external aspect, the power. But in fact, you can never give it, because that's the challenge, looking for either that permission or that power or that authority to come from somebody else. And that's that devastation. It's like me driving through the bush and expecting the chameleon in the tree to have some kind of authority. We can say, well, we wouldn't do it with the goldfish, but we do it with our business or our children or our partner, because that's the whole irony. They can never actually have that power, because it can only ever be ours. So it actually just drops in this puddle of nowhere, of no man's land.
Totally. Absolutely. And we, by the way, the reason why we know this is because we don't want to feel like we have that power for anybody else. It's one of the worst feelings in the world when somebody comes to us saying, will you please tell me that I'm okay? And we're like, good God, no, I have no idea how to do that. I couldn't accomplish that if I wanted to, and I probably do want to, right? But you can't do it. If you've ever tried to, guarantee that your child or your partner or somebody that you love feels a certain way, you can't do it. You can't get in there. You actually don't have, even if you want to, you can't pull it off. So then the question is, well, how do we communicate, right? How do we get along? How do we relate around some of these difficult topics and conversations? It's all very well and good to say, okay, great, I'm not going to give my power away, but when there's still a relationship, there's still right, there's still a, I want to spend the money on the new car and you want to put it toward a credit card debt conversation. What are we going to do then? How do we actually operationalize this highfalutin, self-love?
Yeah,
everybody's rattling off, right?
Yeah, it's hard enough to do it on our own, and then you bring another bloody human into the picture. That really screws it up.
Yeah, absolutely. So in all my work with couples and people in relationship and executive teams and family, blood relations, what I've discovered is nobody wants to lose. Ever.
Yeah.
Right? And that the relationship, you could say the relationship platform doesn't really ever become solid if somebody feels like they're losing.
Yeah.
So if my relating with you results in one of us feeling like we've just lost, it's going to be a fragile peace at best. If it's not outright war, which often happens when people feel like they're losing, it's going to be a fragile stalemate that's not going to last for very long. So the only hope for our relating to create a stable platform for intimacy, right, which means closeness and growth and connection and feeling, like we've got a real foundation built on bedrock rather than on shifting sands. The only hope is that we both feel like we've won. I just want to let that sink in, right? Because the relationships in which you feel like you can win, which just means that you feel like you don't have to lose some essential part of yourself in order to be there. You feel like you don't have to, pay some unimaginable price, or you have to abandon yourself or betray yourself. You don't have to do any of that, and you can still get the benefit of being in relationship. Those relationships, I'm going to guarantee you, are your closest relationships. They could be friends, they could be blood relatives, they may even be your romantic partner, but those are the relationships that feel the best to be in. When you get to actually walk into that relational space and feeling confident because it's happened before, that you're not going to emerge with, some pound of flesh taken away from you. Mm-hmm. And conversely, it's the relationships where you're like, I don't know if I can actually emerge from this relating with myself intact. those are the ones that we probably feel a little bit like this with. We don't necessarily feel comfortable leaning into those relationships. And sometimes those are the people that we're married to, or that we share blood with, or, our business partners with, or all the rest of it. Sometimes these are the relationships that it would be wonderful if they felt safe, but they really don't.
Yeah, and Ernest, I think this is such an important point, because this is a radical concept, that there is actually a way for us to relate where it's a win for both. Because a lot of the conversation, a lot of the models we have is no, long-term relations about, it's almost the race to the bottom of the lowest common denominator. There's the language of compromise, of make it easy, learn how to not trigger each other, and it's this slow separating. So it might be a fight, it also might be this quiet betrayal of slow contempt, or just disconnecting to these cohabiting in a way we've learned to do the dance, where we don't trigger each other's shit. So we go, well, I won't go there, because in that place I don't feel free, in that place I don't feel good enough, or that place I'm either forced to betray myself. So we just, and that to me is that devastation, that quiet, that
totally, it's
quiet,
a cold war. It's a cold war rather than a hot war.
Yeah, and the quiet quitting, yeah, and
Totally.
the quiet quitting. So hell yeah to win-win, and it absolutely is, but it's such a different way of thinking.
Right. Yeah, it is a mindset, it is a consciousness, and that's where it has to start. And that's hopefully what, if you're listening to this today, if you haven't already been strenuously invited to cultivate that consciousness, I'm going to invite you strenuously right now to do so, right? To cultivate the consciousness and this is the consciousness. I refuse for either of us to lose.
Yeah.
I refuse for me to lose. I'm not going to walk away from this relating having lost, because inevitably, if I do, I will resent you. That might be a quiet resentment, or it might be a very loud resentment. But either way, it's going to happen.
That is
if
so,
I lose,
yeah, to go, okay, it's not just that I've lost, but the resentment will come.
Absolutely. Like physics, this is like a relational law of thermodynamics.
And this subtlety is really important, because I certainly have had to really manage this, because there was a little part of me that was taught to be, oh, well, turn the other cheek, be the generous one of the rate. Oh, well, you know what, just don't say anything, compromise. And I'd say a lot of people do that. And it almost became a little bit of, oh, well, I can take it because I'm the bigger person. There's almost an ego element attached to it. But if I was really honest, and when I now go through and go, hang on, there was a big part of me that was going, fuck that. Okay, this resentment, and going, yeah, okay, you can maybe believe that bullshit, or you can say that bullshit, but the truth is you're quietly resenting, you're seething, you're going through, and in that place, you cannot connect.
No, in fact, you will begin to contract.
Yeah.
You have to, because it's not safe anymore. Right? It basically, it feels like this relationship is a place that I'm going to have to, spend what I don't have. Talk about going into debt. But this is emotional, relational debt. And you can't, that's hard. That's harder to pay off than credit card debt, actually, because it gets in there, and it's very hard to dislodge once it's there. And we'll talk maybe a little bit about that later in this call, about how to work on that.
So we're holding that. It's that. That's really important. It's not about the compromising. It's not how do we have the least damage. It's this, we both hold that we're not prepared for either to win. So over to you, I'm sorry, to lose. Yes, we're going to hold it that we both absolutely have to win. Yes, thank you for catching that. So tell us the how.
Great. So once we are committed to that, I'm not willing for me to lose, and I'm not willing for you to lose either. Now, this is so essential. We have to communicate this. So how do we do this? The first thing we have to do, the how, step one, write this down, communicate that you are not willing for the other person to lose. That is a revelation. Right? Imagine being in a conversation, or a difficult one, and the person you're in a conversation, the first thing they say is, hey, just so you know, whatever happens here, I'm not willing for you to lose. I'm not willing for you to go out of this room not feeling like this is a win. Oh my God, right? Like, right? Imagine being in a negotiation, in a business meeting like that. And the person you're negotiating with says, just so you know, whatever the outcome is, I'm committed to you feeling this is a win. Well, what happens? We just, what are a lot, right? Right. We can call off the red alert. We can stand down the nuclear weapons because I'm basically leading with this reassurance that I'm not even interested in winning if you're going to lose. Now, when two people have the same mindset, consciousness, I'm not willing for me to lose, and I'm not willing for you to lose. What's the only other option? Well, we're both going to win. That's the only thing. It makes it inevitable, but we have to, right? That old, this is a hackneyed story, but it's a great one, right? About the art, is it The Art of War? But you probably know, Anne, right? The story about the general who sails his fleet across the sea to, invade the neighboring country. And the first thing he does is tell his soldiers to burn the ships. Says, right, there's no going home. So now we have to win. Right, like creating this mentality. Now you can abuse that, obviously, but what we're doing is we're saying our relational win is that we both feel like we're gonna win. I'm not going to actually destroy you at all costs. I'm going to stand for us both winning at all costs, and so nobody's gonna lose. We just basically, with our consciousness, we've just created a situation where nobody walks out of here with that fear that I'm going to lose by being in this relationship.
It is.
What a relief.
Such a huge relief. And, certainly for me, as the one who wants to go, but the how, we can run to go, oh yeah, that sounds great. All this kumbaya, and we sit around there, but, because I think we just haven't been taught the how. But I think also having that saying, I'm not prepared for us to lose doesn't mean we yet have the solution.
Nope, but that's the first step. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I think this is what's also been so important for me, because I've had to trust the relational process to come up with solutions, because often in relationship I felt the pressure that I have to have all the solutions. And so that even coming in, that feeling like, well, I don't know what the solution is. And I think listening to some of the feedback from the other sides when it comes to money conversations, I think we can go in saying, well, I have to have all the solutions. I'm the one who wants to drive this process. I want us to get out of debt. I want us to start investing. I want us to have a more stable financial base. That means I have to know the path and everywhere it goes. And I think that can then create this, we're not both of us winning. It's like saying, well, one's taken that almost that adult child relational aspect in that. So I just thought, for me, that a really good reminder that I can also come into, okay, in this situation, I'm here for us both to win, and I don't know the how yet, but I trust us, trust myself and you, that we will stay in the arena until we found that win.
Absolutely. Nobody leaves till we all win. Nobody goes home. And right, I mean, it's actually a relieving thing to do. And it actually doesn't have to take forever once we're certain about that. So communicate that up front. This is part of the how, not just think it to yourself. Say it out loud to the person that you are relating to. Important, essential. Otherwise, you might get the response like they're fighting a war, because many of our relationships have felt like we're in a power struggle to decide who's going to win and who's going to lose today. So step 2, 3, and 4 are all one thing. I like to call it a 3-layer cake. Right? Some people, who want to have less cake in their life have called it, right, the 3-part request, but that seems a little bit boring. I like cake, so I like 3-layer cake. 3-layer cake is this, and this is the how. First layer. What do we each want to feel more of? This is a question about emotion. Now, why that matters is because we all are driven emotionally, right? Why do you want to buy the house? Well, because I think if I live in that house, I'm going to feel happy, right? If I say, well, you can have the house, you're just going to be miserable in it. Do you still want to spend that money on the house? You would say, no, I don't want that thing. So human beings, we have to understand, are not actually driven materially, we're driven emotionally, right? Because if I give you the material or the thing that you want in the external world, but you don't get how you think that thing is going to help you feel, you don't want it anymore. Right? I could tell you, you could have, you could be married to Brad Pitt, but then you're saying, but you're going to experience him like Angelina Jolie experienced him. And then you say, no, thank you.
Would rather
right?
have the blow up
right?
doll version.
How many people had a crush on Johnny Depp or Amber Heard? Right? And then we're like, actually, thanks for not granting that particular prayer. Right? You crazy people. No, thank you. Right? So right, that's important. So we're going to operationalize that in this 3-layer cake. First layer, how do we each want to feel? What do we each want to feel more of? And it's not what we want to feel less of. That's so important. Well, I don't want to feel like I'm being taken advantage of, or I don't want to feel, constantly stressed. No, that is not the question on the 3-layer cake. And if you're going to start there, then you can use it as a trampoline to bounce to what you do want to feel more of. I want to feel more abundant, more relaxed, more happy, more at peace, more connected.
I want to feel safe. I love that. I often want to go, I want to be out of debt, but what will that make me? What will that?
Yes.
I can.
And the reason why we want to language this as what we each want to feel more of is instantly we will be able to empathize or create a rapport, because nobody will want more of something that the other person will think is crazy. I guarantee it. Right? Anything that a human being wants more of is kind of understandable.
Yeah. Right? And I think one of the challenges is also about pointing out what we don't want. I don't want to feel stressed. I don't want to feel strained. Indirectly in relating, and I've only just rarely, think about that, it can often sound as criticism.
Absolutely.
Criticism or the other person can inadvertently saying, what are you saying? It's my fault you're feeling stressed, or this. It can go into a defensiveness. Versus when it's what we want more of, it's far more of this generative towards, versus the way also is away from no one. And that was one of the big things in relation to feel criticized. Are you saying it's my fault? I've done this to you, or I have to be something different.
Totally. So if you've had the interesting and perhaps unfortunate, it's been unfortunate for me most of the time, of paying a relationship counselor, to help you with your relationship, and they start with a question, so what's the matter, right? Basically, what do you want to feel less of? Why are you here? And that's where the conversation stops. And then later on, you discover that you just spent $200 or $300 in an hour of your time feeling worse about the relationship. This is why, is because we do not start with what we want to feel less of and hope to get anywhere good. We have to start with what we want to feel more of. Because the minute I just say, I'd like to feel more peace, and the other person says, that's great, that makes sense to me, I like peace too, but for me, the most important thing is feeling more connected. So now we have two people, right? Two lovely human beings, one who wants to feel more peace, one who wants to feel more connection. I think we can work that out, right? It gives us a place to actually feel like that double victory is really within reach, because we understand that the other person is not wanting something that doesn't make any sense to us, right? Because if I say what I really want is to, I don't know, be powerful so I can abuse more people, right? No human being is going to say that. No human being who you should be in relationship with. I mean, right? If that's the answer, what you want is more power so that you can hurt other people, then just walk out the door and stop having a conversation with that particular person, please. Right? But if we can break it down to what do you want more of, even sometimes the scariest people in the world, right? We can kind of say, I get it. I don't totally buy into how you're getting that thing, but I get that that's what you want.
Yeah.
And I'd like to help you get it. So first step, I'm here for us both to win. Next step, 3-layer cake. The first layer of the cake is, what do we both want to feel more of? Right? Validate that. That makes sense. That's basically what validation is. It's just 3 little words. That makes sense to me. I get it. Of course you want to feel that way. That's a great thing to feel. Okay, great. Very important. Second piece now, second layer of the cake. Wondering out loud in the presence of my, the person I'm in relationship with, I wonder what I can do to support me getting more of that thing that I want to feel. Right? I wonder what I can do in my life so that I can feel more peaceful, connected, right? What can I do? What can I offer? How can I have my own back? I'd like to feel more abundant. What could I do? What could I do for me that doesn't require anything or anybody else so that I can feel like I am investing in my own deepest heartfelt desire to feel a certain way? This is essential, because if I don't remind myself and the other person that I am actually the principal driver of the bus of my life, right? I am the CEO of my company. I might have employees and I might have passengers on the bus. I might even have a co-pilot, but this is my life and I'm actually the one in charge of it. I'm the buck stopper. Then we start to get into this, I need you to be a certain way so that I can be okay thing, which we talked about, giving my power away to somebody who actually can't make it work. So this second layer of the cake is what makes sure that I'm keeping my power with me. And I'm saying it out loud so that my partner, because whoever I'm in relationship with, if I haven't learned this, has probably already discovered that I'm probably going to give them some of my power, and then they're going to be, right, not knowing what to do with it and trying to give it back to me. And we're probably going to be fighting about that. So what I'm doing is saying, hey, just so you know, the first thing that's important here with me wanting to feel more peaceful or abundant is me finding out something that I can do for myself to move me towards that thing.
And I love the specificity of these models as frameworks, because you can say, oh, well, yeah, that's given, but it's not given. Because we're having to rewire in relationships, often lifetime patterns of giving power away for ourselves. And that, what am I going to do to get what I want? And it comes back to that starting with me. It's just so key.
Absolutely. So this is the pivot point, right? You can do the first layer of the cake, but if you do not do the second layer of the cake, we're going to still get nowhere good. You can go to the first layer of the cake and you can do the third layer of the cake, but if you don't have the middle layer, it's all going to fall apart. So this second layer is essential, because not only does it help me in relationship, but it helps me in my own life to remember that I can decide how I want to feel, right? Or discover maybe how I want to feel, what's mostly motivating me, and then take steps to have my own back and invest in that. I walk down the street with a little bit more of a spring in my step and a dignity in my heart, knowing that I am not just giving my power away to the world to give me what I want to feel, but I'm actually a human being who, I can't control everything, but I can stand for something, and I'm going to stand for what I want.
We could almost call this the freedom cake.
Yes.
The first part is going, the first one is, what do I want? And then feeling free to express it and safe enough in that relationship, knowing it's going to be met and received. And then knowing we have the agency that at the end of the day, only we can actually do it. But yes, we'll come to
totally.
step 3.
Exactly. Great.
But this is the freedom.
So,
I am free. And if this is what I want, in my freedom to choose, what is
what
my
I'm going to
freedom
do.
give me to do to get there?
Totally. And we can always do something.
Yeah.
This is essential, right? We can't, as you just said, and we're going to move on to this, do everything. We can't. We are relational beings. We require other people. That's the truth. But there's always something we can do. And if I skip over the something that I can do and try to move too quickly to what you can do, it's going to feel like my power's over there and you're not going to want the power, and the whole thing is not going to work.
We're not free. We're going back.
Right? And it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to sustainably work because we're out of, we've left the science of the physics of, the thermodynamics of relational laws of relating, and we're into some kind of fiction. So I must have myself as part of the equation. And I must have myself first before I elicit or request your support, which is why this is a layer. These are layers, and they cannot be reversed. What do I want to feel more of? What am I going to do to get it? Ready for the third layer? The third layer is the fact that we are herd animals and that we need each other, and we are in ecosystems of support. Right? So let's just all take a deep breath and just, throw away that bullshit of, pardon my French, of rugged individualism that our Western culture has thrust upon us to say that we should just, by dint of our own spiritual practice, just feel great all the time and be able to do absolutely everything on our own. That is patriarchal BS. It does not work. It does not work for men, for women, for children, for anybody, anywhere, at any time. Doesn't work. We are relational beings. We need each other. Good.
Amen.
All right. But we need to know that that relationship with the other has to be mirrored by the relationship with myself. So first two layers, relationship with myself. Now comes relationship with other. Right? That's the way that relationship with other is sustainable, is I'm not losing myself out there. I found myself first, and now I'm relating to you. Martin Buber in the mid-20th century called this the I-thou relationship. Right? I've discovered my own dignity. Right? I've validated what I want and what I'm going to do to get it. Thank you very much. And now I'm relating to you as somebody who has also done these first two steps. You know what you want. You know what you're doing to get it. I, thou, two sovereign people. We are not codependent. We have discovered that our own beings are intact. And now we are going to create a relational benefit for both of us. We're actually going to use our sovereignty to create a relationship which actually increases both of our pleasure at being alive. That's what a relationship is. Right? A relationship is an agreement or a constellation between two people who have learned how to do something together that augments their individual sense of beauty. That's what it is. Right? And those are the relationships that we want to be in. Those are the relationships that we will continue to invest time and energy in. Right? Because it's like, wow, relating to you feels great to me. Relating to me feels great to you. Let's get married. Right? Great. Awesome. So the third step is, here's a specific way, a specific way that you could help me get more of what I want. Back to the first step. What do I want to feel? I want to feel more peace. What am I willing to do to get it? I'm willing to, actually, do my morning meditations. Not just think about doing my morning meditations.
Not just pay for the app.
Actually do my morning meditations. Here's a specific way that you could help me feel more peace. Would you be willing to make the kids lunch while I do my morning meditations? Specific way that somebody can actually conceptualize, not just, would you be more supportive? Yes, I think. We don't, right? That's too vague, right? I might want to be supportive, and then I'm supporting you in completely the wrong way that actually will feel like support. I'm like, I thought I was supporting you. How? By getting out of your way. I just let you and the kids be there because I know that I'm always in, right? No, you wanted me to make the kids lunch while you did your meditation. It's got to be specific. And I've got to be able to be clear enough about what a specific thing is. Because if I can't ask you for a specific thing, then I'm not ever going to be entitled for your support. It needs to be specific. So this is part of us growing ourselves up into adults, right? Who ask for specific things rather than children, child consciousness. It's okay. We all have it, right? That always just wanted the other people to know what we needed without us having to ask, right? I work with a lot of couples every week. I hear this every single day. Why do I have to ask for what I want? Can't that person just know? Wouldn't they just know that a decent human being that, right? Or this? No. Child consciousness. Adult consciousness is, I am entitled to zero that I don't ask for.
Please just state that again. Please state that again, because this is so important. when we actually realize we're entitled to nothing.
Nothing that we do not ask for. We are entitled to nothing as adults. Now, as children, you're entitled to a lot that you don't ask for. You were entitled to a lot that you didn't ask for. I'm sorry that you didn't get it. Neither did I. None of us did. Not all of it. But as adults, this is the whole point of becoming an adult. We get to ask for and stand for those first two layers of the cake. So I'm actually growing myself up. Even in the third step, it is still about me becoming myself. Right? Because I'm entitled to nothing I don't ask for. So if I want your help, I get to ask for it. And if you say, I'd love to help you, but how? And I don't have an answer to that, then that's on me. Well, I don't know. It's just not working for me. It's like, well, sort yourself out. I'll be here. I'd love to know how to help you, but I'm not going to try to help you unless you tell me how.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
A specific question, and would you be willing to do this specific thing? Now, this is essential that we're using this language, willing. Willing is very different than wanting. Willing and wanting are two different sides of the coin, right? The list of things that I want is about what I want for me, right? That goes back to step number one. What do I want to feel more of? It has nothing to do with y'all, has everything to do with me, right? What do I want? But in relationship, the list of what I'm willing to offer so that I can support somebody who I care about is way longer than what I want for myself. Right? And we're going to take advantage of that. So the language in step 3 is not, do you want to make the kids lunch while I do my meditation? I can't imagine that you want to do that. You probably want to, sleep in. I don't know. But would you be willing? Because you know that I'm going to receive it as a gift, as support to help me get more of what I want. Right? So one person's willing to support the other person's want. You're willing to help me get what I want. I'm willing to help you get what you want.
And the thank
That's
you
the
goes,
magic.
yeah. And the thank you goes, the willing person is giving a gift and it needs to be recognized as that.
Absolutely.
Gift.
So this third step in the 3-layer cake is asking for a gift. Would you be willing to give me the gift of, right? And once I've received a gift, I have to say thank you. Right? I have to express my appreciation, or it doesn't feel to the person who's given the gift like the gift they've given has been acknowledged or received, and that makes it unsustainable. Have you ever tried to give a gift to somebody who never says thank you? How many times do you still want to give that gift? It gets stale pretty quickly. Have you ever given a gift to somebody who loses their mind with gratitude every time you give them a gift? How many times do you want to give that person a gift? You're almost like looking for opportunities to give that person a gift. Right? Oh my God, I can't believe it. Again, another birthday present? This is amazing. You always just know what to give me. It means so much to me. This is incredible. Thank you so much. Guess who's not going to forget that person's birthday next year?
And this is really
right?
key because I think sometimes we, and I'm just seeing some of the chats, this is key, this feeling safe to ask is so important, this asking, because some say, well, oh, it's not a gift because I had to ask for it. And this is a bullshit story that sometimes comes, oh, well, it was an only gift if the other person magically friggin' guessed it. That, if you want to have, would you be willing to buy me flowers every week? Because that makes you feel, and the person buys flowers, that's still a friggin' fucking gift to say thank you for.
Yes, absolutely. Even better, actually, because what that demonstrates is that the person, right, isn't just automatically thinking of me and buying me flowers. It's even better than that. This person is willing to be curious about who I am, what I want, and what will help me feel that way, and is willing to do something to serve that. That's incredible. That's a better relationship, right? If you had the choice between somebody who just, right, bought you flowers without you having to ask, and somebody who was willing to buy you flowers, even though that wasn't what they thought they were going to do, pick the second person.
Yeah.
Because that actually is going to let you go through decades of life together way more successfully.
And yeah, this is so key that if we're prepared to give the gift to each other, being vulnerable to ask for what we want, what a gift as well. So Ernest, we've now gone through the first step, then we've got into our freedom cake, but I feel there's a freedom frosting coming on this cake.
Yes.
So this freedom frosting for me is, okay, so I've shared what I want to feel more of. I've said what I'm going to do for me towards getting that. And I've said, are you willing to support me with this specific thing?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the agency of remembering that win-win is that to make sure, okay, that other person might receive it and go, well, now, because it can happen both ways. This is, I think, such a key aspect of then it can either drop into betrayal of feeling, oh, well, you've asked me, you've been specific, we've gone through our 3-layer cake. So does this mean whatever I'm asked, I have to give?
Right, exactly.
So
the answer,
let's go to the really, this
yes.
is like the pièce de résistance. This is the frosting.
Totally. So I can only give a gift if I'm not betraying myself. So we're going to introduce a third possibility. We've had wanting, one possibility, that's what I want for myself. Willing, which is what I'm willing to do to serve you. But then there is enduring, which means I am past willing and into self-betrayal. Right there, I'm past what I'm actually willing to do, and I'm on the list of things that I'm doing that are actually preventing me now from feeling the way that I want to feel because I'm serving you. Right? I've turned the whole thing around, and I'm no longer going to win because the thing that if I'm doing or not doing, that's a self-betrayal, is actually preventing me from feeling the thing that I want to feel, which means I'm going to lose. Which means what? When I'm losing in a relationship, what am I going to feel? Resentment, right? So I can't say yes to a request if by saying yes to it, I am going to resent you. I must keep you safe from that. It's also keeping myself safe, by the way, because nobody likes to betray themselves. It's terrible, but I'm actually also keeping you safe because have you ever tried this? Have you ever gotten a gift from somebody and you thought it was a gift, right? And then later on, you found out that it wasn't really a gift and that there were strings attached? How does that feel? Terrible. Because it's like, wait a second, how much of the other stuff that I thought was a gift was actually just you betraying yourself? And now you're mad at me. You're resenting me.
Yeah.
It's a terrible feeling. So we have to avoid that. And the way that we avoid that is the person receiving the request has got to say, can I give this with a whole heart? Can I give the thing that you're wanting me to give you? Can I make the kids lunch while you meditate without without resentment? Can I actually give that to you as long as you say thank you and feel like, yeah, that's great. I'm willing to do that. If I can't, I have to be able to say, I don't think I can do that, but I still want to help you. So it's never a no, period. It's always a no, but. Always a no, but. Never just a no. No, but I definitely want to help you feel more peaceful. What else could we come up with?
Yeah, so you loop back down to what what are you wanting?
Exactly.
You're not actually wanting the lunch. You're wanting to feel more peaceful.
Wanting to feel more peaceful.
And this is so key because often we can get attached to the transactional thing. Oh, but the car or the this. No, what do you want to feel? So I can't do that, but it's still a yes to you getting to the win.
Still here to help you win.
Yeah.
I just can't lose in the process. Remember? I can't lose and you can't lose. We're both committed to not losing. So I don't think I can wake up earlier to make the kids lunch because I've got early meetings on Thursdays. But what about if I cook the kids dinner and you have your meditation time at dinner time? How about, right? I might suggest something, or I might just say, make another request of me. But we're both caring that nobody's going to slip into losing, because remember, nobody gets out of this room without winning. And we're going to just negotiate here to make sure that I've found some way to help you feel the way that you want without betraying myself. Now, it doesn't mean that I've gone all the way to wanting, right? I'm just looking for the willing, because willing is not enduring. Enduring means I've lost and that resentment is going to happen.
And
so
the
we're shifting
relationship
out
lasts.
of an enduring to willing, right? And that's where a relationship can work. I'm serving your wanting with my willing, you're serving my wanting with your willing, and both of us are taking a lot of care to avoid enduring. So there's the frosting on the cake. Does this take time? Yes. Can you go, right? Like, it's like baking a cake, right? It's like baking a cake that is exactly what you want for your relationship. It's not going to the supermarket and buying the cake that doesn't go stale for 10 days because it's filled with potassium nitrate or whatever the heck they put in those things, right? Like, we're not going to the store-bought, right, efficiency market here. This is why relationships are artisanal, right? You've heard of slow food. This is like slow love, slow, right? And so does it take time? Yes, it does take time. But once you get the hang of it, it takes less time, I promise you, than one person losing and then all the conflict and fighting, money, time, and everything else that it takes to then recover from that thing where somebody's been losing for a year or a decade or a relationship, right? This is way cheaper and more efficient, actually. But in the moment, it takes a little bit of, okay, what's the step? And the hang, and I gotta negotiate. Okay, are we leaving the room? Are we both winning? Yes. Did that just take 15, 20 minutes? Yes. Did we get it in the first conversation? Maybe not. Let's come back to it. But this is what over time saves time. Just like, I know you teach a lot of that, Anne, right? That, trying to, buy the Tesla stock right when it's, about to take off, right? And if that's all you, right, but rather that stepwise, if you put in the time and if you can do the thing that, like, ultimately, you're going to get where you want to go, and it will save time in the end, because the boom and bust thing actually ultimately doesn't get you anywhere.
It really is about that consistency. And I love what you're saying, that artisanal aspect, because I think in this fast-paced aspect of life, often we look at that Insta feed for, here's the 3 steps to, getting your way, or the whatever, or, what's our love language? Okay, just give that person gifts and then they'll love you. No, it's this slowing down to the speed of love and life, being prepared to go, hey, I'm curious about you, and I'm curious about us. I want us to both have a win. And I think also for me, and I think for many people here, we'll open up to some questions, is just that, also that self-compassion, that this is not what we've been modeled. This is as kids, and I love you bringing up, reminding what's our child nature. We want to hand that over. We want the other person just to rescue us, just to know, just to, come on board. And it's not easy in the moment to do this, because we're having to rewire so many things. Quite a few are saying, maybe you feel guilty, and Kim, absolutely, we often feel quietly guilted for asking. But often that can be, if you cannot trust your partner to also do their work, and we have to know that I'm not going to self-betray. But part of that relation is also about how to create that relation of true trust, that the other person is not going to self-betray. Because if you're in a relationship with somebody who keeps saying yes to that gift, who self-betrays and then quietly resents, and that, as you say, throws that back with that price tag, we can't feel safe. So there's this, all of us having to unlearn patterns of safety, of attachment that we've done. But what's so great is, by having the recipe of this cake with its frosting, we can practice with low-hanging fruit, or maybe we just say with the less charged things, so that when we come in, and I think what's been really important for me is that for those more charged things, knowing that they're charged and giving each other the slack to go, okay, woo, we're learning here, we still got that attention, but hey, shit, we need to time out. Let the limbic system just calm the F down and come back in, is really key.
Absolutely.
So thank you. There's so much to share. We'll have to do another whole masterclass on consent, and we'll do another session on stuff but this has been so juicy. So hands up if you want to come on and ask a question. Kim said we've also learned to be able to receive. No, I can't do that without going into rejection. Absolutely. So that, I still want you to win. I can't do that, but I think is absolutely key. But yes, not this child element. And Zoe said, having a bit of a revelation, I'm rubbish at asking, and then feeling stressed / resentful that I have to do everything. So yeah, let's come on, put your hand up. Who's going to be brave and come on in and ask questions? We've got a few minutes. Phenomenal session. Thank you. Absolutely. Isn't it such a powerful model? So who's got a question for Ernest? There we go, Alison. Come on in. Hello, gorgeous.
Hello. Thank you so much. That was enlightenment of 50 years plus, just kind of happening for me. And I kind of wish, I sit in this bit of regret of giving my power away so many times over so many years to various different people, and that thing of keeping my power was just, it really caught me and made me feel quite emotional actually. So thank you. Not a question, but thank you so much for sharing that and enabling me. Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, this is the story that we all get to tell each other, right? This is the story that actually kind of liberates us from the cultural stuckness that we've been in, whatever you want to call that stuckness, right? But this is the thing that has made human relating and all the terrible violence and trauma in families, between nations. I mean, this is the story that begins to undo that, and we can't necessarily intervene in some of the geopolitical conflicts, but we can certainly do this in our own lives. So yeah, that the fact that we weren't taught this isn't because somebody, nobody knew how to teach us this, but it's kind of almost like lost, wisdom that we get to recover. And so may we all go forward and talk about this as much as possible so that we can create more and more of a story around this, so it's less and less something that we have to wait 50 years for.
And it is such an interesting one when we talk about that taking back our power, and when it comes to money, and as women, as men, but when we look at the power dynamic around, we say, who earns more in a relationship, or that financial advisor or that expert. For many of you, we laugh and we joke, but it's a very real element of saying, okay, how to fire your financial advisor. Also, but the person's nice. I don't know how to say, oh, I feel difficult to ask this question. We can often go into this child, sort of, I don't have permission. And this remembering of like, okay, what do I want? I just state what I want. Let's get clean in where that power dynamic sits. And then self-compassion. I love Sherry said, thank you for the delicious freedom cake. It's really key. And Kaz said, this is helping me prepare for my next relationship and starting off on the right foot from the beginning. Absolutely. And I think, for me, this has been so powerful, having Ernest and a lot of these different frameworks in navigating into a new relationship. And even with those, there's still that complexity, because we bring two humans with our past performing, pleasing, appeasing patterns, but having a modality to go, oh, hang on, what's gone on here? Oh, I gave my power away, or in that point, I expected the other person to have that power, or I didn't even know what I wanted. Because this also comes back and requires us to slow down enough when we start having these conversations of saying, what do we want? So when we come to these money conversations, we said, well, okay, now many of you are trying to enroll a partner to come on this journey with you, to have that combined, wanting to share your vision of what you're wanting financially, you want that support. And for some of you, so I know you're on the call here, when you can feel like your partner isn't on that same page, how do you enroll them? What does that mean? Does that mean you can't have what you want? Is just starting to use these frameworks. And Yeah, so Judy said sometimes by the time you ask, you're so set that you're needing your needs met. And that's also a key one. Like, where do we wait too long and maybe haven't felt safe or haven't cultivated a practice? And so Ernest, I mean, you speak often about just also cultivating practices in your day, in your week, to do these check-ins in different areas.
Absolutely. I mean, these are what I would call micro practices, right? Because we can do the first two steps of that freedom cake, to use Anne's phrase for it, all on our own, right? And if we're only waiting for the time that we're in a difficult conversation with our partner to begin to practice to do those first two steps, which are mine to do, or even that pre-step, which is cultivating the mindset that I'm committed to neither of us losing in this relationship. All three of those things are absolutely essential to it, and are all that I don't even need anybody with me, right? That's like brushing my teeth, right? I don't need your help brushing my teeth. I can do that. I can keep, my oral hygiene. I can manage. So we practice those if we want to get good at this, right? Because this wasn't something that, each of us has spent more time, memorizing our multiplication tables than we have learning this skill in our life, right? And how many times do you pull out what, 9 times 12 is a day? But this thing you'll use every single day for the rest of your life. And there are no calculators that can help you get the answer. You can, right? The computer can tell you what 9 times 12 is. The computer cannot tell you how to do the freedom cake. So invest in this. This is my, obviously my plea, and why people end up, mentoring with me or working with me or coming, because for at least that time they're forced to do it. But these are things that we can actually build into our our day, and they don't take forever. It doesn't take 6 hours to figure out what you want to feel more of and what you're going to do to invest in yourself or have your own back. It takes a few minutes. Maybe you could probably do it while brushing your teeth. You can do it with your eyes open while operating heavy machinery. Even you can have when you're. It doesn't take a kind of meditative retreat, but it doesn't happen if you don't do it. It's that both it's easy to do, but you got to do it. And if you don't do it, even as easy as it is to do, then it doesn't actually, that new consciousness, that new mindset doesn't actually grow. And then we're stuck doing the same thing and expecting different results. And sic transit gloria mundi, as they say in Latin, right? Thus passes the glory of the world right by us, right? Just like a bus that we didn't get on.
Kim, were you wanting to? Oh, sorry, you muted. I clicked the button. Hi there.
Hi, and thank you. I wanted to add my voice of thanks. And I've just been quietly absorbing the energy of realizing the extent to which I grew up in a world where it wasn't spoken, it was an unspoken asks never get. So there was always a culture of you have to somehow divine what is required in order to get the love. But it's particularly how that has impacted my entire relationship with money, and that it is not okay to want money. And my mother is now 89, and I'm navigating with her this whole journey of what is it you really want? And literally having, well, don't you know? And realizing that just how profound this is and how deep it is. And that it actually plays out, as you said at the beginning, in every single area of my life. I'm a physician, and I see, just been living the way that also plays out in consultation. Somewhere there's an assumed juxtaposition of, well, can't you work out what it is I need? And I'm clearly not being successful because I can't work out what it is you need. And I'm actually going to ask you. And I just want to open up. You say it doesn't need to take 6 or 7 hours or a meditative retreat. What I've been experiencing is that we can go so far. But when you live and you've been brought up, as many people have in the culture of asks never get, there's something about, I don't know, where does this work in the cake, in making the cake? There's something about the bowl that you make the cake in. It becomes unworkable. So there's a hidden ceiling, and getting underneath to what do I really want? I mean, of course, we all want to feel love and to be able to love at the bottom, but there are all these other bits, and being able to admit that can actually take some time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I wanted to add one other thing, and this is my second time round. First time round, all I did was listen and did nothing. And this time round, all I've done also is listen and not so far been able to do anything. But I wanted to have a chance to say quite personally, what an immense service you're providing, way, way beyond the money. We're really grateful. And we share a love and home of Africa.
We do. And Kim, thank you. You've articulated so beautifully. Well, I'm just going to receive that. Thank you. And I think you've articulated some of that devastation that has been perpetuated on many people, of many of us, of that almost, if you can't guess what the other needs, that then you're also broken, that there's something wrong with you. So that inverse shaming, that, you know, a lot of kids get from dysfunctional parents, we'll just call it being human and not knowing their own stuff. And as you say, still perpetuate all the life through, and then actually perpetuate in many of the power dynamics in the world, like you have around, even in careers, like you somehow meant to guess what's wrong with somebody physically, or and there's almost this worthiness, and to come back into this freedom of being safe to not know, to not have the solution, to not know what the other person needs, is also been a huge journey for me in having my own back. Just, hey, it's okay, I'm not broken, I'm not fuck up, yeah, because I don't magically know, and it is. And so whilst it doesn't take, you know, each little cake doesn't have to take 6 hours, I think it's a lifetime for all of us of this journey to true deep love and freedom back in ourselves. But I think what is so powerful, and Kim, thank you for your share, and I'm just so grateful to Ernest, is that with each choice, each time we make that intentional choice to stand in service of love and life, that matters. That just the intentionality of holding for the win. The result might be messy, the cake might flop, but just the fact that I loved what I think it was Hazel, oh no, it was Chantal said, part of that first step of getting to know what we want is warming the oven up before you shove that freedom cake in. You got to have that warm oven. You know, just being prepared to switch on that oven is key. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Oh, I've just seen the time and it's so amazing. So we will share Ernest's contact details again. If any of you want to connect with him, he is amazing, very generous with his time and everything else. And I can see, Ernest, I'm going to be asking whether you are willing to do a few more of these sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. This is it. And the more of us who can talk about these kinds of things, the easier it gets for all of us. So let's create a revolution. That's my hope. That's why I do this, is that, you know, we can begin to tell these stories, and they just make sense once we hear them. It's not, you know, this isn't kind of esoteric, speculative, you know, is there life on Mars stuff? This is just, oh yeah, that makes sense. Why don't we do it that way? Well, because we're never taught to do it that way. Let's try to do it that way. You know, how's it going doing it that way? And all of a sudden, we can create, you know, maybe in the next generation, you know, over time, a lot less confusion about something that shouldn't be so bloody difficult.
Can I add one other thing, just one brief thing, and that
Please.
is that when we're kids, we really do learn by example.
Mm.
So if our parents have labored under the same illusion that asks never get,
Yeah,
that which is relatively simple when you articulate it that way, we've learned so many strategies to try to find the way to get the attention or to get the love. And I think it's really a big step, even when we do it, when we come to it late in life.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're changing the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's enormous. Yeah.
So being able to ask for what you want, and that was the other thing for both of you.
Yeah.
That's what you do, Anne. It's living by example. And you can't fake that. You just cannot fake it. So thank you.
Thank
Really
you.
grateful to be here today.
So am I. Doesn't just feel juicy. Amazing, Kaz. How are you, gorgeous? I haven't seen you for ages.
I'm here in spirit.
You're here in person.
I'm lurking around in the background on the Facebook, and it's so lovely to be here again for, I can't remember which round this is, but you know, it's just still learning. So it's a joy. I have a question. Me and the receiving. It's a work in progress. What's your advice on, at the moment, the gratitude thing and receiving and saying thank you? I'm looking slightly psychopathic in that somebody gives me something and I go, thank you, without going, oh, this old thing, or oh, you shouldn't have, or, you know, all of those things. So do you just keep faking it till you make it? Or is there any other way to you know, feel more comfortable with the receiving or get used to it? I think is where I am with that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Many of us are conditioned in that way, that because to receive something is, again, it's yin energy, it's feminine energy, and in a patriarchal culture in which, right, every feminine energetic out there has been violated or taken from at some point or another. You know, entering into that receptivity where we're vulnerable, you know, is, you know, a questionable move at best. But I think that the practice really begins by starting way back, before you even get to another person giving you a gift. Your life is a gift, right? We get to receive the gift of our life. And if we don't, well, we've skipped over a step, right? That your existence is something that you do not produce, but is given to you. Each breath you take is a gift. Each meal you eat is a gift. Each moment that you live is a gift. And humanity as a whole has a blockage or an inability to receive even the gift of our life. So those, you know, that difficulty inhabiting that vulnerability, A, makes sense, but B, we do need to find a way to kind of go beneath all the patterns and the trauma and everything else, and discover that vis-a-vis life, there's a gift, an unconditional gift that is given. And that can help us, because in a sense, everybody that we're ever going to meet is just an extension of life. You could say is a messenger from life. And of course, you know, I don't know if you know your Greek, but in Greek, messenger is angel, which means angel, right? Like the other people are angels in our life, maybe messengers of life, representatives of life, coming to us, right? Just like the breath, just like the food you eat, you know, just like the clothes you wear, it's all coming from life. Just like the money you have in your account, right? All money is life's money. It's all come from nowhere. And that consciousness that allows us to receive not just a particular gift from a particular other human being, but actually everything that is truly the liberation that Buddha talked about, or the salvation that Jesus talks about, right? That consciousness of, wow, this is all for me. And it is a practice, and it's step by step, and it helps when you are part of a community that is also practicing the same thing, or you've got a mentor or a guide who is helping initiate you into that consciousness. But you're not alone in feeling that kind of contraction around receiving, and it's a journey that we're all on in some ways, because very few people are ever truly able to fully receive the unspeakable gift of their own existence. So.
Yeah,
that makes so much sense, because the first time I came to do the FFU, and the second time, and possibly the third time as well, I've been doing this all for my daughter. This time, it's for me. So there's been a fundamental shift that I could feel when I chose to come in again as alumni. Beautiful. And then this one was for me, because I've laid the groundwork, and she's good, and she's doing better than I am, actually. As teens do, because they can pick it up and run with it. But yeah, it's very interesting that's very timely. So thank you so much.
It is just so beautiful, Ernest, and something that you've shared with me, Ernest, and if I could just share here, I think also knowing, and that in relationship, for most of us have also learned to not trust the gifts that we receive. The offerings, as Ernest said, often they came with very high price tags of either shame or some kind of hooks attached, or what's the catch? And so certainly learning to trust ourselves, to have our own back, to so go, okay, even this gift might not be coming completely cleanly from this other person. We cannot know, we don't have the authority, we're not that other person. But keep saying, I will receive this gift, but if there are any hooks or attach or other stuff, I do not need to participate in those. And so there is this freedom as well to go, if there is any other thing that maybe I need to be afraid of, can I trust myself to have my own back in that, if it comes to that, and then not participate in these ongoing cycles of either shaming, betraying, barter. Because in a lot of relationships are not relationships, they're just tradings. They're just trades between friends and relationship. Well, if I've done this for you, what are you going to do that to me? I gave you that gift, but now it's an owing back. So I just wanted to sort of add an element of there, that there's also a cycle for us to break the participation in those kind of exchange. And I think there's also an aspect to just check in on ourselves. And this is not for the self-shaming, but also just go, oh, where do I sometimes not give cleanly? Or I've believed a gift is a way to get what I want instead of asking. So where do I participate in trading in the guise of a gift of giving, but actually it's been one of the strategies, as Kim said, that I've learned to try and get what I want. And so so we've also learned not to actually trust the giving and receiving. Well, thank you so much once again. I think we could talk about this forever. Thank you for your beautiful messages. I'll copy those for you, Ernest. It's always wonderful to get the gift back of seeing that the gift you've given us has been beautifully received. And I am deeply, deeply grateful. And thank you for all of you who've just shown up with this big heart opening and exploring what it is to be free. Thank
Wonderful.
you. As everyone heads on, is there anything else to let them that you want to just finish off with?
Thanks. This is the revolution. So thanks for being part of it, and I look forward to meeting you all again one day in whatever form that will take. So until then, bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.